She moved through the world in a way most people never noticed. A calm presence, a gentle routine, a face that blended into crowded hallways and busy mornings. But some lives don't exist in what people can see. Some exist in the spaces where no one looks. Hers lived in the notebooks she kept hidden beneath her bed, filled with words she never allowed to escape into daylight. Every morning began quietly, a muted alarm, a slow breath, a glance in the mirror to make sure nothing inside her was leaking through. No hint of the thoughts she carried, no sign of the lines she wrote after midnight. She walked through school with an expression that revealed nothing. Teachers knew her name. Classmates recognized her outline, but no one knew her inner landscape. They didn't see the nights she sat awake, writing poems that felt more honest than anything she dared to say aloud. Her days followed a steady rhythm: classes, lunch alone, a few polite nods, a long walk home. She wasn't unfriendly, just guarded. There was a difference. She didn't share much because sharing meant being understood, and being understood meant vulnerability. She wasn't ready for that, not yet. Home was quiet, but strained. Her parents worked hard, returned late, and rarely asked more than surface questions. They assumed silence meant stability. They didn't notice the moments she hesitated before replying. They didn't see how she lingered in doorways, unsure whether she was interrupting something unspoken. So she wrote, page after page, because writing didn't interrupt anything. Writing didn't demand explanations. Writing let her exist without apology. Every night, when the house softened into stillness, she turned on her small lamp. The warm circle of light felt like a safe corner of the universe. She wrote slowly at first, then faster, then unevenly when emotion slipped through cracks she couldn't contain. Her poetry wasn't strategic. It wasn't crafted for any audience. It was a record of what she hid during the day: uncertainty, longing, tiredness, and the strange ache of wanting to be seen while fearing the consequences. People saw a quiet girl. They never saw the storyteller behind her calmness. School grew heavier as the months passed. Assignments increased. Expectations rose. The noise around her felt sharper, as if everyone else moved with ease, while she carried invisible weight. She watched others laugh freely and speak boldly. She wondered how they held their confidence so effortlessly. She wished she could tell someone that writing was more than expression. It was the only place where she felt whole. But the idea of sharing her poetry terrified her. It felt like exposing the softest part of her. Then came the moment that shifted everything. In English class, a new teacher asked the students to write a poem about something real. The word lingered in the air. Real. The one thing she always wrote. The one thing she never revealed. She turned in a neutral piece. Careful, distant, empty. The teacher read it, looked at her, and said softly, "You're hiding." Not harsh, not accusing, just observant. She didn't respond, but the comment settled deeply inside her. That evening, her poems took on a different shape, more direct, closer to truth. She wrote about pressure, about self-doubt, about the exhaustion of carrying unspoken emotions. The words came like confessions she didn't know she'd been holding. At the library, a quiet boy often sat near her. He didn't force conversation. He simply existed beside her without disrupting her space. One afternoon, he saw a line scribbled in the margin of her notebook. He didn't react dramatically. He only said, "This feels genuine." She closed the notebook before he could read more. It wasn't embarrassment, it was fear. Someone had glimpsed a part of her world she had spent years protecting. And yet, his tone stayed gentle, as if he understood more than she expected. Life grew heavier at home. Bills collected, her parents worried in silence. The atmosphere thickened, and she absorbed the tension even when no one asked her to. She wrote more often, sometimes with trembling hands. The words felt like a release she desperately needed, but rarely admitted. One night, after an especially long day,
She pulled out the box filled with her notebooks. She placed them on the floor one by one, feeling the weight of each year. She opened a worn notebook and felt an overwhelming urge to tear the pages. Not out of shame, out of fear that they meant nothing, that they would stay hidden forever, that they were only important to her. Her fingers tightened on the paper, but before she could rip it, a cold breeze slipped through her slightly open window. It stopped her. She read the poem aloud, then another. Hearing her own voice speak the thoughts she had buried felt unfamiliar, almost startling. For the first time, she sensed something inside her that resembled strength. The next day, she made a choice so small, most people would overlook it. She tore out one poem, delicate, folded neatly, and placed it on her teacher's desk before leaving class. No name, no explanation, just truth. When he read it later, he didn't search the room for the writer. He simply closed his eyes, acknowledging the weight of words that were finally allowed to breathe. She didn't become fearless overnight. She didn't suddenly share everything she wrote, but something changed. She no longer viewed her poetry as something to hide. She allowed herself to write in daylight. She let the boy sit a little closer. She answered her parents with a bit more honesty. Quiet shifts, small openings, but for someone like her, they were monumental. She kept writing each night, not for approval or recognition, but for connection, first with herself, then with the world, in tiny, careful steps. She understood something she had never realized before. Not all voices are loud. Some are soft. Some emerge in lines written under dim light. Some grow slowly, like dawn rising over a still landscape. She was one of those voices. People still saw a quiet girl. But now, beneath that calm exterior, she carried the knowledge that her words were alive, and for the first time, she believed they deserved to exist beyond the shadows she once hid them in.